listen, it does not need to be a new year, a new you. It just needs to be a new year, a healthier you. Because sure, okay, they trying to take us down at every front. So get some TLC products and up that metabolism and up that energy and up that immune system, okay, that digestive system. Get that all together with these TLC products right here. And don't forget, okay, sign up for ifyoucanmove.com and become a part of the online gym and shed the pounds, honey. We're starting a new challenge on January 3rd, and I would love to see y'all there. Get the links down below. Hey everybody, what's up? It's your girl Bondi Blue, and I am back for another Lovecraft Country, y'all. This is a 2-for-1. Okay, this is episode 3 and 4. I'm going to make a playlist for you guys so that they'll all be in the same place. But I wanted to let you guys know that I am going to continue to do Girlfriends. I just haven't gotten a chance to watch it because I've been watching Bridgerton, which will be coming right after this. And then I'm going to jump into last night's shows, and then I'll get into Girlfriends because I don't think I have anything besides Real Housewives of Atlanta for Sunday. So that'll be the day that I get into Girlfriends. So it'll either be out Sunday or Monday for sure. Okay, for those of you who are wondering about Girlfriends. But this is Lovecraft. Okay, so just let me, go ahead and get into it, because Jesus, I just kind of feel like there are certain themes of life that just seem to transcend every show, like in one way or another. You know what I'm saying? And when I think about everything that I've been talking about recently, I mean, even with the Bell Collective, some of the aspects of This Is Us and the world at large. I mean, right now I feel like we're in the middle of an epic novel that's on its second to last chapter. Okay. And it's still going to leave you on a cliffhanger. Okay. And you may or may not get another epic. Okay. But probably you will, because people love capitalism. Okay. Especially in this country. So Lovecraft Country. Okay. There are going to be a lot of themes. And hopefully I won't go on tangents, because it's a lot and I'm already going on a tangent. So let's go ahead and get into the notes. So Letty is in church watching folks catch the Holy Ghost right after she came back from the dead. So imagine, I died, I came back, I felt all of that. Okay. And now I find myself in the middle of the church and everybody is feeling the spirit and feeling the Lord. And I'm just kind of sitting here detached, trying to figure out how I'm going to go on knowing that I just died. And then all of the things that happened along with that. So Letty has a lot going on in this first moment in the church. I didn't listen to the podcast like I was supposed to. Y'all, I'm so sorry. Like, I've been meaning to listen to the podcast after I finish watching the episode again, just so I can remember certain things. But you know what? I don't listen to other people's opinions or understandings of shows usually. So I'm going to just go ahead and give it the old college try. Summer 1955, a group of Negro men and women moved into a house on the north side of Chicago. 10 days later, 3 people went missing inside the house, never to be seen again. Pioneering is dangerous. And we're not talking about the pioneering from Real Housewives of Salt Lake City and Heather's Family. We're not talking about that type of pioneering, the colonizing kind. Oh no. We're talking about the pioneering of being the first Black people to be anywhere, to do anything. It's always a trial. It's always a tribulation. Letty takes Ruby to a haunted house, the one that she wants to buy, the same house that these people went missing in, that she wants to turn into a boarding home for Negroes. She wants to help the community. That's what she says. Ruby wants to know where she got the money from. Like, it's a huge house with like 13 rooms or something like that. Where did you get the ends for this? Letty Mae, let us know something, okay? She ignores her. All right, just completely glazes over the question and continues to go on and on. Ruby says that they rioted when a Negro moved into an apartment building downtown, in the wrong area. So it just kind of feels like this is scary. There are a whole bunch of reasons to say no, 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 no. When it's really yes, 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 yes. Okay? Yes, 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 because this is a golden opportunity here. No, 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 because white people will do the absolute most when they don't want you somewhere. I mean, the absolute most. I mean, putting themselves in harm's way, okay? Annoying and making their own lives harder or more uncomfortable just so that they can do that to a black person. I mean, when you really think about it, it's insane. If there's any depiction, I feel like, of something that is from hell, it is when certain white folks get into this mode. You're demons, okay? If anything is a demon spirit, this is it. But no, I never hear anybody call it that. They always want to call gay shit, a demon spirit. They never want to call like things that are actually completely out of the realm of what is right, just, and okay. And then the realm of reality, because somehow these things get spun. You see what I mean? Do you see what I mean? Is this not indicative of what just happened a few days ago at the Capitol? Is it not? I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Like, this episode is like a prime example of like the continuation of mobs of white people doing the absolute most. Just saying. I'd be remiss. Okay, I've said this before. I would be totally remiss if I did not mention the similarities. Okay, the place also has an elevator that almost kills Letty. So remember that. She laughed it off, but baby, okay, she obviously hasn't seen 13 Ghosts. I'm always weary of elevators, okay? So you guys, Hippolyta is sitting at her vanity, ripping the pages out of a Dracula novel. I'm not exactly sure why, even though I feel like I understand why. Like, the whole, story was kind of Dracula-like, I also think that was one of George's favorite books. And I think that might have been the book that he took with him. I'm not sure. I cannot remember when they left to go out of town. But he didn't come back. And now Montrose, Letty, and Tick have come back. And of course, they've had to have a conversation with Hippolyta and Dee about Uncle George's passing. We didn't get to see that conversation. What we get to see is this beautiful morning where Tick and Dee are in the kitchen cooking breakfast, trying to have some semblance of normalcy. And Hippolyta is at her vanity, looking beautiful and ready for the day, and ripping pages out of a book and staring into the mirror, looking at herself while she does it. I mean, I don't even know how to explain what that moment kind of felt like for me. Like, at first, when I watched it the first time, I didn't know what was going on. Like, I was so lost as to why this moment was happening. But now that I've watched it and thought back on it, she is pissed off because not only is her husband dead, but y'all playing with her intelligence, and Hippolyta is highly, and I mean astronomically, intelligent. We find that out this episode, and we will continue to find that out throughout further episodes until we get to episode 7, which is my favorite episode of the entire show, and it's Hippolyta's episode. Okay, but the fact that I knew the number of the episodes should let you know something. I don't be remembering the number of these episodes. I do too many of these shows. Okay, but anyway, Tick, like I said, is trying to keep things happy for Dee, even though her father is dead. He left to go on a trip and didn't come back. That is a lot. That is a lot, especially when there's some mysterious, reasoning for it. Like, I'm sure Dee understands that something ain't right about what has happened and that this story isn't completely all the way right. She may not be handling it the way Hippolyta is, but I think she's definitely still feeling that same energy, okay? Hippolyta comes into the kitchen and pretends to be calm, but she's pissed and she can feel that Tick is hiding something. So Tick goes over to Montrose's place to check on him. He's also dealing with everything that just happened. My brother's dead. Okay? Like, my brother's dead. And I'm already somebody that dives off the deep end into depression. Okay? It just translates to anger and alcoholism. But well, and also sex. We're going to get into that in another episode, because I definitely feel like he lets his frustrations off on Sammy the bartender. Okay? And it is unfair. But it's also a sign of the times in which a man can be in a relationship with another man, even if that relationship could be something more than just banging each other out and, you know, getting head in alleyways. But either way, Tick shows up and he's laid out on the floor, half naked, dead to the world. So Tick throws water in his face. Splash! Wake up. So of course, Montrose wakes up from his drunken stupor and he's all upset and mad. And then Tick goes into a monologue about the Tulsa riots and how he felt like he was there with them when them white boys had them surrounded and some man came out of nowhere swinging like Jackie Robinson. Okay, I got you, kids. He wants to find out all he can about the magic, about everything that happened when they were at that house, because nobody knew magic existed, and then boom, magic exists. Okay, like, so I get it. Montrose is like, hell no, boy, leave it alone, you know, on some extra shit. Like, dude, your head should be hurting right now. Why can you do all of this? Calm down. You know, it didn't need to be all of that. But either way, Tick is used to his, you know, his daddy coming at him like this. So he jumps back from the table, you know, and then he kind of gets this look on his face where he remembers he's a grown-ass man that has killed many people, and he has no need to really be, you know, afraid of his father in this moment, but just a natural reaction to when you grow up with a father that uses anger to try, you know, and discipline you. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all are really, I'm going to say this again for anybody watching me that got kids. You are supposed to go and calm the fuck down before you discipline your children. Please do that. Okay? Please do that. Stop disciplining your children when you're mad or when you're angry. Stop doing that for all of us. Thank you. Public service announcement. Back at Letty's, okay, folks are moving in, all right? And the white folks are angry. They are really upset. They are all standing outside blowing their horns. And then after they didn't stand outside blowing the horns anymore, I mean, you're also sitting here with this noise. Like, you're also torturing yourself. I can't. Either way, they blowing the horns and then they tape bricks to the horns so that they will blare for as long as they can possibly blare. That's supposed to get the black people up out of the house. All of these things are tactics of war, mind you. Things that people do when they're in war to take over an enemy. And I just kind of want to say that the fact that white people have been doing shit like that to us for all of this time, because you know, like, that's what we like to call microaggressions, but it's not really a microaggression, because it's huge to stand outside of your house and somebody else's and blow a horn for like 24 fucking hours. That's a lot. That's a lot to do because you're upset about who's living across the street. How about you go inside your house and mind your business? But y'all know that it's not something that white people are familiar with. They don't like to mind their business, okay? I'm sorry, y'all, but we're going to have to refer to y'all as white people in the context of Lovecraft Country. Now, if you are a white person and you are bothered by this, I am so sorry. Take this up with your ancestors. This is the history, okay? This is the shit that, you know, your people like to do to other people when you're upset that they've moved into your neighborhood. Like, this shit was insane to me, you guys. Like, just the amount of energy and aggravation to make somebody else like unhappy is just way too much for me. Later on that night, the house is hot as hell. Apparently there's something wrong with the furnace. White boys probably snuck into the basement and messed with the furnace. Okay, Letty has to go down there to the basement to see what it's hitting for. All right, she gets down there. There's wind. There's voices. You know, we don't know what's going on. All we know is it feels like an episode of The Ghost Whisperer. Things build and eventually Letty screams out of fear, and then Tick comes running in with a bat to save the damn day, because that's what Tick does, and that's why Tick isn't paying any rent. Okay, word on the curb. Tick says that excessive heat and noise are tactics in war. They used them in Korea. It was so hot there. You know what I'm saying? I was just kind of like, wow, like, that's what we on. Now, mind you, throughout the episode, we're kind of going through like a 10-day thing. And this is the 8th day, I believe, where Letty throws a party, all right? And everybody, it's like, one of those good time house parties, y'all, where they frying catfish and everybody's dancing in the living room and in the foyer, and somebody's gambling and somebody's cheating, and there's just a whole bunch of shit going on. You know what it felt like? Eve's Bayou, and it felt like Lackawanna Blues. I don't know if y'all have ever seen Lackawanna Blues, but when I tell y'all, that has always been like one of my favorite movies, and it's why I love movies so much, because I feel like you learn so much from them. I was always taught in school that segregation was bad and integration was good. I was also taught that from other movies. And even though I understand, because it was not equal, and because there are certain places where we all have to show up to, and there's all this like aggression towards black people, we had to integrate so that we can make laws for y'all to stop being able to act like this in everyday society. Meaning black people can go in the front door. We can go in stores. We sit next to you at the movie theater, like all of those things that were at one point illegal. Okay. All of that mixing going on. You know what I'm saying? But like I always say, it's because somebody figured out that getting everybody's money is better than getting just, one group's money. Like somebody was like, nah, man, I want everybody's money. I don't just want their money. I want them black folks' money too. Okay. So y'all gonna have to mix in with these black folks so that I can get everybody's money. Okay. Like that's basically the mindset of why things had to change. But Lackawanna Blues talked about how successful and how flourishing black neighborhoods and businesses were during segregation. We didn't necessarily need to depend on white people, so it was a better time for us as a people within our own areas. And we would always have these house parties. I don't care where you lived, you had these house parties. Because I feel like we definitely have these in New Orleans. I mean, I don't know about y'all. What Lackawanna Blues taught me is that integration took away our sovereignty. It took away our independence and made us codependent on a system that is allowed to abuse us. If we didn't have to be involved in this system at all, then they can't abuse us. If we had everything that was just for us, grocery stores, neighborhoods, hospitals, all of that shit, if we had all of that just for us, then we wouldn't have to be disrespected because of it. But integration, makes it, unlawful to separate us, but it doesn't stop people from having their prejudices and, keeping you from getting promotions because of it, because it's not illegal. You know what I'm saying? A lot of time black people don't even have the wherewithal, mindset, or read the fine print enough to know the things that they can do in order to keep certain things from happening. Like, and sometimes there are no laws to protect us in certain areas. Like, we can just get fucked over at a job because we're black and we got to deal with it. As long as they paying us, around the same amount of money, then that's all that really, matters in a court of law. Not how, you have to really go hard to prove it, but like the little subtle things that happen all the time. The integration situation, I just kind of feel like wasn't exactly the best. It is what it is, but it wasn't exactly the best. And this reminds me of that, so Letty's throwing this house party, going on tangents, and they're talking about how Michael, somebody dancing in the party or whatever, they're just having kind of conversation as Letty is going through the house taking pictures and making sure everybody has whatever they need. You need a plate, doing her little thing, okay, hosting. And they talk about how Michael / Martin, okay, because they changed his name to Martin Luther King, but his name was Michael, or they was calling him Michael. Child, that's what they said, okay? But they said that they made him marry a black woman last year because y'all know he was in love with some white girl. So that's what they were saying about Martin Luther King. And I feel like it's so funny how, back in the day, there were so many things about people who, we probably wouldn't have liked. Had there been social media and Martin Luther King could have been on, Instagram showing us how much of a hoe he was or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, the movement would not have been able to happen. But because we were able to keep things to ourselves when it comes to our personal lives, people were able to prosper in other areas. You know what I'm saying? But that doesn't mean that the shit wasn't happening, okay? But either way, they said Martin was in love with a white girl, and I had to bring that up. Is there any truth to that? I didn't look it up. Y'all comment down below and let me know. So Hippolyta brings in all the food that people have been dropping off to give condolences for Uncle George passing. Everybody's having a good time. Lil Dee Dee and her friends are downstairs on a Ouija board. One of her friends is Emmett Till. They call him Bobo. Apparently that was Emmett Till's nickname. He asked if he's going to have a good summer. And the summer he's speaking of is the summer that he gets killed for allegedly blinking, whistling, looking in a white woman's direction. We all know that's not what it was. We all know that that lady lied, and she waited until she was on her deathbed or some shit to say that she lied, and probably just pointed that little boy out of, you know, any old Negro that she saw. Okay, and we all know the story, and if you don't know it, you need to look it the fuck up. But yes, the Ouija board tells him no, he won't have a good summer. They ask who they're talking to, and it says, George is dead. Dee gets upset, knocks the board over, and runs off angrily, thinking that her friends were doing that. But we all know that Ouija board was acting on its own accord. Hippolyta is looking for the kids and finds a gold replica of the solar system in a vacant room. I was just like, wow, that's gonna lead to something. Tick comes into the house in his uniform. He had been sitting on the porch keeping watch because y'all know the white folks have been doing the most. So they're upset that there's a party going on, all these extra black people showing up to this house across the street. So Tick is outside in his uniform to let them know a soldier lives here. But when Tick comes in, okay, Tree's old messy ass. Tree is one of those miserable men that's always trying to make everybody else miserable because they actually feel so insecure and small about themselves. So they go around being messy and saying shit they shouldn't say and just being vile for no reason. So Tick is watching Letty dance with some guy, okay? And it's a whole bunch of, you know, putting my puss over your leg type of dancing. And he is standing there looking upset. And Tree is like, you know, I hit her when we were in high school. You know, she's some hot stuff. You know, but if she your woman, you better tell her. I was like, first of all, you smashed Letty, Tree, word? Oh, okay. So after Letty finished sweating out her hair, she goes to the bathroom to, you know, just kind of rinse her face off. And there's a ghost behind her. We see it. She doesn't see it. And Tick, who comes into the bathroom behind her, didn't see it either. But she turns around and he runs up to her with all of this passion and starts kissing her and pushes her up against the sink and sits her on the sink. And then she starts to unbuckle his pants. And then y'all know he slide on in. And they tore it down in the bathroom for a good 30 seconds. Okay. Okay, talk about coming quick. But y'all know, movie magic. It can't be as long as it probably was. Okay, just saying. But when he pulls out, he notices that there's some blood, you know, on his situation. Okay, and she says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize my monthly had come down." So we like, oh, okay. When he leaves the bathroom, she cries, and I was just like, oh, Letty's really going through it. Like the only reason she did that is because she died a couple of days ago, a few days ago, but she died. So she's still in turmoil and needing to feel something. Ruby is discussing working at Marshall Fields and how they won't hire her because she's black, when they realize that there is a cross burning in the damn yard. Okay, apparently Tick being inside for too long, white people have come onto the property and put a cross there and set it on fire. I never understood like the sacrilegiousness of this. Like how, you know, because a lot of these people, you know, claim to be God-fearing people. So I never understood why burning a cross is not bad. Like, why is it okay for y'all to burn crosses? That just seems hella sacrilegious to me. But you know what? Anyway, Letty's had it up to here with these white people at this point. So she gets a bat and she goes outside. Tick and a few men already see what's going on, okay? So when Letty goes out with this bat, she starts smashing all of these windows and knocking the bricks off the horns. I mean, tearing these cars up. And it was what we wanted. It was what we needed. We needed this, okay? We were so aggravated by these people this whole episode, okay? And so the men come outside with guns to keep watch and make sure that nobody from across the street puts a hand or even gets in the vicinity of Letty. Okay, so after she finished knocking all of the bricks off of all of these cars and busting all of the windows, okay, she stands there throws the bat in the white folks' direction, who are all standing on their lawns at this point, okay? And then I believe it was Hippolyta who comes outside and puts a jacket over her shoulders because everybody knows the police is coming. So we see Ruby come down the driveway with the car. All of the men put the guns inside, and Ruby speeds in, the opposite direction with the guns, okay? And then right after that, the police pull up. Everybody gets down on their knees and puts their hands up so they don't get killed. So just the fact that everybody had all of this coordination, that they knew exactly what they needed to do in this situation because they've been put in these situations before. The police were in on it, by the way. Okay, they drove past with smiles on their faces as the neighbors blared horns in front of Letty's house that first day she had moved in. So they knew this was going on, which is why they were called so quickly, because, they're coming in defense of all the racist white people that are basically terrorizing this black household. Captain Lancaster. You guys, Captain Lancaster is a very interesting character, and we've only just begun to get to know him. But he is put in the back of a paddy wagon with Letty. She's handcuffed. She still has her jacket on, and he's asking her questions about the Winthrop house and what she's doing in that house. And does she know anything about the Negroes? And that's the word I'm using because that's not what he said, that were found dead in that house. He said he found the body parts in that house. So if they're there, they won't be there too long, okay? Meanwhile, the driver is swerving the paddy wagon back and forth so that they can basically beat Letty up without putting hands on her. She didn't say anything, but she understood what was going on here. It's something about this house. And you guys, I just want to point out that one of the things that Captain Lancaster said to Letty was, where did a girl like you get the money for a house like that? Because I know you can't afford it. So basically just automatically knowing that this black girl couldn't possibly have the money to purchase this home, which even in 1955 we know is obviously not true. Even if she didn't get the money from where she got the money from, we'll get to that in a minute, there is some black girl out there in 1955 that could absolutely afford this house. So the fact that he even said that just made me think back to Andy Cohen telling Monique that it couldn't be possible that her husband was still making a lot of money. But go ahead and keep acting like when we see these things, we just tripping. All right. So Letty gets home and finds something wrong with all of the pictures that she had taken at the house. Okay. That day when everybody was getting, moved in, I believe, she noticed that there are all these like light swirls all over the pictures. So she manically lays them all out on the floor. And there's a pattern, and it's a pattern of someone's face. And once that face is recognized, it comes up out of the pictures and materializes and tells her to get out of my house. And she goes flying into the staircase. Okay, I was just kind of like, oh, okay. So not only did we see that there are haunted black people in this house, but there's a white man who wants her to get out. Okay. The next day, she's going through the house frantically, trying to understand what the hell is going on and what is happening with the pictures. Because she started to notice that there were blurs in the pictures. You know what I'm saying? So like blurs where you could see somebody else's face in the face of someone else on the pictures that she took. Okay. People are leaving because they think that she put a bigger target on their backs by busting up those white boys' cars. Okay, I feel like they need to be happy that somebody wasn't scared to defend them, because at the end of the day, y'all gonna have to deal with that no matter where y'all go during this time. So having somebody that's bout it, and the fact that everybody was still okay after the fact, man, y'all know why you running? You're going to always have to fight. But I get it. They felt like, I'm just going to move back to the south side. I ain't got time for this shit. I get it. In everyday life, nobody wants to go through this shit. Ruby is worried. How are they going to continue to afford this house without anybody living here to give them money, anybody boarding? Like, how are they going to do this? And she's like, I still have some money left over from, the money that mama left me. Letting it slip because she's worrying about something else right now. So apparently, Letty's mom, who never had shit, left her some money and not her other siblings. And Ruby is pissed. Okay? You didn't even come to mama's funeral and she left you money? Then on top of that, they didn't know about it. She didn't tell them. And let me let y'all know, before the show starts, Letty had a history of calling Ruby and asking for help, asking for money. And so now you had this money that was an inheritance from all of our piss poor mama. And you didn't tell us about it. You didn't share it with us. Like, wow, Letty. She let into her ass. She was like, you act like you're so different from mama, but really you're worse than mama. At least we knew mom wasn't shit. You try to act like you want a relationship with me. You try to act like you care. But really, you use me and you lied to me and you didn't tell me that mama left you an inheritance, bitch. Really? Yeah, that's a lot, Letty. That's a lot. That's messed up. Yeah, Letty. Piece of shit, like, for sure. She also read her for filth about the fact that you talked about helping out the neighborhood, but to me it seemed as if all you did was move your artist friends in here, which isn't the same thing as, families who need the help, people who have children who need the help. At the traveling agency, Hippolyta confronts Montrose about feeling that something isn't right about George's death. And she feels like Tick is hiding something from her. And this is when she lets it be known how she's feeling. This whole episode, we've been seeing it, but we haven't really understood it. She's made little comments and, it kind of felt nefarious. Honestly, like the first time I was watching it, I was like, oh my God, am I not gonna like her character? Oh my God. Montrose is now made aware that Hippolyta is only going to believe this story that they told for so long. Letty does some research on the previous owner of the house. And it was a man named Hiram Epstein, okay? He was a mad scientist who was fired for unethical practices. He was basically experimenting on black people, all right? Kind of reminds me of Madame Delphine Lalaurie. Okay, also did the same thing, did, weird experiments on black people. I mean, you can pretty much thank your gynecological experience to all of the black women who went through these procedures when they were still figuring shit out without any drugs, because for some reason they believed that black women didn't feel pain. Sure. Okay. So, I mean, it's still why we aren't treated well in hospitals to this day, because y'all have some skewed understanding of our tolerance of pain. We're not superhuman, bitch. I don't know what's wrong with y'all. We're just genetically dominant. That's it. That's all. I don't know what you want us to do about that. Talk to God about it. And I didn't say superior. I said dominant. Two different things. So Tick comes in. And she tells him that the cop, Lancaster, who arrested her, knew the scientist. They're in pictures together. And Lancaster is also tied to a slew of missing persons cases on the South Side, meaning missing black people. So basically, we put two and two together and figure out that Captain Lancaster has been, I'm sure, kidnapping black people or coming into contact with black people on the job and giving them to Hiram Epstein to do scientific experiments on. We're going to delve deeper into that story later on. Then she shows him all of her pictures that have the faces of the missing colored folks from the South Side mixed up in the faces of the people who are at the house. So these ghosts are trapped in her house with their killer, and they want out. Tick thinks they should just move out. Like, everybody wants to run. Everybody wants to run. And I so understand it. I so get it. But at the end of the day, like, when I'm looking at it from what is this? 60, almost 70 years from 1950s, from 1955. Okay. Like, what, 60 some odd years? I could be wrong. I can't count. But I'm just going to say that it's crazy to feel like, you can tell somebody that y'all should always have fought, because they were going to keep doing this just because y'all ran or stayed quiet. We should have always fought. And I understand feeling like we were never going to win. But something makes me feel like we should have always fought. Like, especially back then when there were no cameras. And I know we were fighting. I know we were. Don't get me wrong. But I just kind of feel like the time when we were trying to take the high road, you know, and go high when they were going low and shit, we should have went lower. You know, my perspective, my feelings on some of these situations, y'all. So she tells Tick that the housewarming party was the first time she had had sex, completely out of nowhere, but Tick had no idea that he had basically taken her virginity from her that night. And she says, you didn't do anything wrong. I needed it. I needed to feel something. And they haven't even talked about all of this crazy shit that's happened. So now she has to address this new world head on and make it her bitch, because that's what black women do. Letty brings a voodoo priestess into her home to help cleanse the space and help free those trapped souls, okay? So they go down into the basement and she slit the throat of a goat and then put the blood on their heads and on the door in order to protect them from evil spirits or evil magic, okay? Specifically the magic, okay? Because while they're down in the basement beginning to chant and call upon some Orisha to help them, some white boys are breaking into the house. I was like, are y'all really breaking into these people's houses to, like, what? You were going to kill them? Like, is that what you were going to do? You were going to kill all the people in this house because you mad because they live on... Like, y'all think about that. Like, it's insane, you guys. That is insane. Which is why it was so satisfying to see all of them get killed. So first we see a huge ghost man with a baby's head. It looked like a basketball player with a baby's head. It creeped me the fuck out, okay? But he forced some of the men into steam from that furnace that I'm guessing they had been messing with. I don't know whether it was the ghosts or the white boys, but either way, the steam from the furnace burnt them the hell up, okay? Another one of them is decapitated by the elevator that almost decapitated Letty at the beginning of the episode. So then the fire sprinklers start running in the basement. And everybody lose their protection marks on their foreheads. So then here comes Epstein, okay? He takes over the priestess's body. So Letty calls the names of the 8 black people that were killed in the house to come and protect her, because that's what you do. And I don't know if y'all seen the Coco on, I think it was a Disney movie, but I remember watching it on Netflix. But Coco, it's about Santeria. Santeria, voodoo, hoodoo, most African spiritualities, Ifa, I believe Yoruba, and, you know, because Yoruba is also an ethnicity, language, and I also believe is a specific type of African spirituality, but whatever. All of those different types of African spiritualities, all of them innately, it is a, not worship, but a reverence and a connection to your ancestors, to the people who died and who are a part of your bloodline, and how in the spiritual world they fight for you, especially when you keep them alive in the, you know, in the world that we live in the physical world. So you have to say their names. So that's why, even though I'm sure they were doing some things inaccurately as it pertains to the specifics of the spirituality and the practice, okay? They were certainly probably getting some things wrong, but her calling their names, okay, is very important. In my family growing up, my mom, my grandmother, everybody has always had like pictures of our dead relatives all over the house or in a specific area. My grandmother's house, it was a mantelpiece. And my mom's house, my mom always has like a wall or like a table or something that is full of pictures of family members and dead ones, okay? And it is something that we innately do, not realizing that these are basically altars. Especially the mantelpiece. The mantelpiece situation was something that everybody had in New Orleans growing up. If you had a fireplace, even if it worked or it didn't, you had a mantelpiece, you had candles and pictures of dead people on that mantelpiece, and incense and all kind of stuff on that mantelpiece. That is what I remember. Okay. So when she started to call their names, I was like, you know, it's crazy to me how these things are real. You know what I'm saying? I feel like they are. I feel like we are strengthened by our connection to our ancestors, and we are strengthened by the memory of them. And even in the aspect of the world and history, when we forget the things that have happened, even all of the small instances, when we forget those things, I feel like we have a greater chance of slipping into the mistakes of the past by forgetting what our people have been through and forgetting who they are. I mean, that was a part of the whole thing. I mean, if you think about what slavery was, it wasn't just enslavement. It was the conditioning to forget who you are. You no longer have ethnicity. You no longer have a tradition, a tribe. You no longer can do the things that you used to do to represent those things. You know what I'm saying? Like, stripping all of that away means you no longer have a connection to your ancestral line, which is your magic, which is your power. Okay, so in this scene, y'all, when I first watched this and she's calling on these people, I don't know why, but I cried during most of this scene. Okay, I felt, and this is why Journey is so amazing. Journey is so amazing because everything that she exhibited in this moment, in this scene, I felt while it was happening. And that happened every time I watched this episode. And I have watched this episode more than twice, okay? Probably twice the first 2 times just to watch it. And then this third time when I was making my notes for everything. But the spirits start to come and chant with Letty, surrounding Epstein, who has at this point, I believe, taken over Tick's body. Because Tick was fighting the priestess. The priestess was choking Tick out. And then the spirit took over Tick's body. So she starts to call on them. They come, they circle Epstein, who's inside Tick's body. At some point, the chanting causes a separation, and they were able to banish him, to banish Hiram Epstein, the person who had done all of these terrible experiments to these black people, like killed, you know, all of these black people. This lady was holding her fucking baby. So that tells me that y'all killed a pregnant woman and then tried to do some, you know, experimental shit with her and her baby. Okay, like that's what that told me. As they were chanting and they were taking the spirit and the life force from Hiram, they started to become whole again. Everybody started to look like what they originally looked like before harm was done to them. So they were also set free. So after this, y'all, Letty had that moment where she was like, I was just like, girl, girl, like, oh my God. So Letty moves in people who really needed help, and a black publication covers it. She asked of the white neighbors who apparently have gone missing from the neighborhood. And this was the 3 white men who were sneaking into the house as they were performing this ritual. So they had no idea that these men were even in the house, and the ghost killed them and then dumped their bodies all the way at the bottom of the house in a tunnel. There's a tunnel underneath this house. Okay. And that's where, I mean, there were a slew of bodies, from the brand new ones from the neighbors all the way down this long tunnel. Tick goes to see Christina, and he tells her that he knows it was her that sent Letty that money, not her mother. And Christina gives Tick a history lesson about how Hiram Epstein was a follower of Horatio. And Horatio was another founding member of the Sons of Adam. Okay, and he stole pages from the Book of Names, which is a book of magic. Okay, which another thing that connects, like the magic is in the names are tied to the ancestors. Do y'all see what I'm saying? Okay, like all these things tied together. But anyway, so he took pages from the Book of Names to have his own translation, because Titus Breakwhite, which is Tick's ancestor, the one who I'm sure raped his, great whatever black, grandmother who worked in their house, raped her. Y'all remember she got pregnant, left the house, all of that. Y'all remember the fire? Okay. So Titus and Horatio had pages from the Book of Names. And now Christina and Captain Lancaster, okay, he's not really in it, but he is. All of them are trying to find pages from the Book of Names, because all of it is the magic, okay? And also, one of the spells from the Book of Names was a protection spell that Christina's dad used to protect himself, and she learned it and used it to protect herself. So when Tick pulls a gun on her and tries to shoot her to tell her to stay away from his family, I mean, they were in broad daylight in this building. Like, I don't know how he thought he was going to get away with it. I guess he thought he was going to kill her and then run. But either way, that spell protects her, and he's standing there, you know, holding the gun, not able to really shoot it, not able to even really move his arm. So this invulnerability spell protects her. And the funny thing is that the only reason that her dad died was because he had to take that protection spell off of him in order to do the whole Garden of Eden spell situation. So that's how he was able to die in the first place, because he's invulnerable. Or he was invulnerable. She tells Tick, with his hand stuck in the air, that Titus hid his pages, so now she wants to find Horatio's pages. She tells Tick that he has to be smarter than this. He can't just go around killing white women. I was just like, we know. Okay, so episode 4. The episode starts off with Montrose, okay? He's in his place drinking and crying, losing his shit, and sounds of him beating Tick are ringing in his mind, and he's reading the papers from the son of Adam. And then he burns them and says, "Smells like Tulsa." When I first watched this, I didn't know whether he was entranced or maybe someone had taken over his body, because it's not like we haven't seen that happen before, child. I didn't know what was happening, but no, Montrose was drunk but working off of his own mental when he read all of the pages and then burned them. And I feel like he thinks he's protecting Tick, but less knowledge is not protection. I want people to remember that. Less knowledge is not protection, okay? So the next scene that we see is Christina living her best rich white lady life, swerving through traffic to, "Bitch better have my money. Pay me what you owe me." All right, and that's all I'm gonna do, because I don't play with y'all like that, okay? So she gets to Letty's place. Letty asks her what the hell she's doing there, and she asks how did they get rid of Hiram? How did they get rid of Epstein? And Letty says, "Oh, I understand. You gave me the money. You sent me the money." Because it's like, how would you even have known that? You sent me the money. Okay, I get it now. So she tried to walk in and notices that she can't because of the blood, you know, X's that the voodoo priestess had put over the doors. She uses her womanhood to appeal to Letty, you know, these men, you know, and all of that bullshit. When that doesn't work, she tells her that Tick came to the real estate office and tried to shoot her, and he's going to get Letty killed again. She wants Hiram's Ori. The Ori is that gold replica of the solar system that Hippolyta had found. Yes. And then we go to Hippolyta, who's at the travel agency on the phone with her father discussing what it could possibly be, because she didn't know it was an Ori. It's also not an exact replica of the solar system because it's slightly different. I believe it has 2 suns or something. She's trying to figure that out. While discussing it, her father says it sounds like something from Dee's comic, okay? So little Dee has been drawing a comic this whole time, right? We've seen it in little splashes. Remember that, okay? And then we see Dee run out with Bobo, aka Emmett Till, who seems to be like her best friend at this time. Letty goes running into the library, angry at Tick for trying to kill Christina and not telling her that Christina is the one who gave her the inheritance. He explains that Christina is protected by an invulnerability spell that she got from the pages that were translated from the Book of Names, okay? He was going to kill Christina and then run off, but now he's staying until his family is safe, because he realized that he couldn't kill her. So now he has to stay because he has to protect everybody. And he also has to figure out this shit with the Book of Names, okay? He has to find these pages because Christina is trying to find these pages, okay? So together they figure out that Christina wants the Ori so that she can use it to find the translations to the Book of Names. Tick wants to get his hands on the pages so that he can decipher spells so he can use them to protect him and his family. Y'all, this all kind of taps on what a lot of people believe, which is that the Caucasians came to Africa learned African spirituality, went back to their homes, and then used the powers that they learned from us against us, which is how we got into slavery. It's also tied to, like, you know, some other stuff. I can't tell y'all exactly what it is, but I've heard these stories before about how basically white people got their magic from us, and then they used it against us, and then taught us that it was bad and evil so that we would never use it against them. And when you think about how hard they wanted us to be Christians, I mean, they basically outlawed any other type of religion. And then they were constantly coming to Africa in order to switch us over to their religion. Ooh, Lord, y'all don't want to believe this shit, but I swear for God, don't it make sense? So Tick has figured out from his research about Titus Braithwaite that he has a vault where he is probably hidden his pages from the Book of Names. Letty tells him that he needs to talk to Montrose. He probably already did all of this research himself. Tick doesn't want Montrose or Letty involved. He's always trying to be the great protector. But at this point, the shit has already went down. Letty already almost died. Montrose was already kidnapped. Like, we've already done this, okay? So the fact that he continues to try to act like he's protecting somebody, it's exhausting. It's really exhausting, okay? However, Tick and Letty sit down with Montrose anyway, and he berates them. You stupid boy, going after this, it's dangerous. You need to leave it alone, and all of this type of shit. It's like, dude, we know you've already done the research your damn self, so who are you really calling stupid here? Okay? But he said, you're outnumbered and outgunned. I won't help you kill yourselves. He obviously knows more than he's saying. Tick tells Letty, I told you this was a waste of time. He gets up and walks away from the table. And then Letty lays into him. Why are you gonna let this man chase his tail? You know we know what we talking about. Help us. Damn. You ain't never did nothing but beat that boy down his whole life. And now you wanna sit up here and lie to his face? Oh, that's the right way, Sway? Basically, she guilted him into giving them some information. When she gets up to walk away, he asks if she has any family in Boston. She turns around and he says they might know where the vault is. I'm like, you know, what is this connection with the families? Like, it's a lot. It's a lot of connecting dots going on here. We're not seeing a clear picture, but we definitely see a whole bunch of puzzle pieces. So Christina is in the street playing tag with some neighborhood kids. It's very creepy, but you know, I guess she never had a childhood having a, you know, egomaniacal, narcissist, sexist, psychopath for a father. You know, I guess you're always in the basement working on magic and shit. You don't never go out and play with the kids in the street. So she's playing with the kids, and then 2 police officers come and fetch her and take her to talk to Captain Lancaster. He wants to know what she's doing in his city unannounced. Christina says that she went by the Winthrop house to talk to Hiram about his orrery, since it's the key to the time machine. I was like, oh, so the orrery is the key to a time machine, not a key to the actual papers, but a key to going in, you know, back into time to get the papers, I believe. She says, I was surprised to find Negroes living there. He tells her that he knows she bought the house, and she reminds him that he's not in the order because he's coming at her like he's the head of something. And she was like, do I need to remind you you're not a part of the order? You're not a member? Okay, I'm like, child, aren't all the members dead at this point? He reminds her that she isn't either because there are no cunts allowed. I'm like, man, y'all men be so upset. And I really feel like y'all don't want women involved because you don't want smarter people than you in the room. I don't know why, but like, men feel so intimidated by smart women. Like, it bothers them so much that somebody else could be smarter than them in the room who doesn't have a dick. I don't get it. But either way, we know that's why y'all keep us out of everything. It's not just so that y'all could, you know, like, talk to each other about cheating, peace, and all that type of stuff. We know it's not just about that. It's because you don't want a woman to be smarter than you. I don't know. It just seems like a lot to keep trying to be the smartest amongst all the dumb people. You know what I'm saying? You're still dumb. But whatever. Hippolyta and Dee are now joining Montrose, Tick, and Letty on this trip to a museum to break into Titus's vault. They found out from the family members that that's what a vault is, in a museum that has a Titus Braithwaite wing. Of course, they don't want Dee and Hippolyta to come with them, but it's Hippolyta's car. And Hippolyta wants to know what the hell is going on and what happened to her husband. So this is her way of trying to figure that out. So right when they're about to pull off, Tree's annoying ass shows up with his suitcase talking about hitching a ride. And y'all know black folk in 55, we ain't gonna tell you no, get in the car. Ruby finally goes into Marshall Fields to try and apply for a job when she sees there's a new black girl at the counter. Okay, of course, the black girl who gets the shoulder and the stank face from all the white women, you know, is happy to see a black woman come into the store to purchase something. So she runs over to her. Ruby is obviously bothered and she asks, so did you just start working here? And she was like, yes, I applied on a whim. You know, yesterday. I just started working here yesterday. She applied on a whim. And it's like Ruby was so pissed off because there's been so much forethought, so much education, so much preparation to work at Marshall Fields. And here is this little young girl walked in off the street, probably with no real experience whatsoever besides being in the service industry because she's a black woman. So in 1955, most black people were in one way or another in the service industry. Asking people if they need help is something we was always doing. Okay? Child. It ain't like you need that much experience. But either way, it pissed Ruby off. You know what I'm saying? But that just goes to show that we're always trying to impress the unimpressible. Okay? And what I mean by that is, because it's probably not even a word, but what I mean is, normally we go above and beyond and do more and then still don't get paid as much money or still don't get the promotions. I guess we hadn't figured that out exactly yet because we weren't all working amongst each other just yet. But it definitely, you know, it definitely puts me in the mindset of black people holding these positions and jobs at, you know, such a high esteem and on such a pedestal when it shouldn't be. It really shouldn't be. Because there's always somebody that doesn't know nearly as much as you who's going to walk into the door and get the job just because their energy is different, because they looked at it differently. She did it on a whim and you overthunk it. When they get to the museum, Tree is annoyingly on their heels. Hippolyta and Dee go to look at the constellations, and one of them she named, called Hera's Chariot, unofficially of course. The naming society didn't want a little black girl as the face of their organization, so they said some little white girl did it. Dee tells her that she should have fought them, and Hippolyta says that they know the truth and that's all that matters. And then Dee yells out, my mama named Hera's Chariot. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, look, now they know too, okay? But that's what I mean by we should have fought, because the Hippolytas of the world would have shown us that we could have done other things besides rap, sing, do hair, be in the service industry. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like there are only a few professions that black people really know about in comparison to the plethora of professions that white people are able to get into. Okay. And it's just now with social media and being able to curate and create identities and businesses all on our own based off of our personalities and what we bring to the table. Like, now we can do that. But in the years before, like, I never even imagined, like, you know, or maybe it wasn't something that I wanted, but, you know, naming a constellation and all of that type of stuff, because you didn't see a lot of black people doing that. How would you? You know what I'm saying? So there's a part of me that feels like, you know, they called it Hidden Figures when they figured out, you know, the math and all of that. Y'all remember that movie, the Hidden Figures movie? It's called Hidden Figures because nobody knew. You know, and white people just take the credit for the work all the time. And black people, you know, don't even know that they have ancestors that have done these amazing things. So then it doesn't help them along the line when they're looking back like, okay, what can I do? They're trying to think about what other black people have done. You know what I'm saying? So when you don't show us that that's possible, we don't know we can do it. And that's why I feel like we should have always fought. You know what I'm saying? We should have, just like Dee said, you should have fought. We should have always fought. So while walking through the museum, you can hear the guide saying that Titus Braithwaite was gifted these art exhibit pieces from the savage tribes for teaching them the ways of civilized man, which really means y'all stole this shit from them people because y'all had guns. Okay. So at some point, Letty let Tree know that Tick told her he said that they smashed because, he was like, you know why they call me Tree, huh? Because I got 3 stumps instead of 2 or some shit like that. 3 legs instead of 3 legs instead of 2, some stupid shit. And she was like, well, I should know that since we already slept together, huh, Tree? Since that's what he told Tick last episode, right? So Tree is questioning Tick about telling Letty about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, he says, you didn't have to stab me in the back because I sent you to walk in on Sammy getting head. Like, Tree is putting a lot of shit together. Tree really thinks highly of himself. Tick is not even thinking about him. Tick is trying to find this vault. So that's what his mind is. But then he brings that up. He was like, I don't care about Sammy getting head by no man. What you talking about? You know what I'm saying? And he was like, I was just saying that because I saw that Montrose and Sammy was spending a lot of time together ever since you left. So that stops Tick. It makes Tick think about things. And he looks at Montrose. Montrose is, having his little conversation with the security guard. All right. And it feels like, how does he know the security guard? You know what I mean? It's like, oh, some secret undercover gay club or some shit like that he's a part of, and the security guard is a part of it too. Is that what you're thinking, Tick? I mean, it's a possibility. Tick asks Montrose how he knows the security guard, and Montrose says he's a friend from the bar, which solidifies that that's probably how he knows him. So he tells them that they better find this vault because once they come back at night, when the security guard lets them in, they only have like an hour or so. When Letty comes over, she looks at the Titus statue, and that's when they figure out that that's where the vault is. Later that night, they get into the vault, which leads to a passageway with 3 tunnels, right? Now, y'all remember we saw that these tunnels, kind of all lead out to different places, and one of those tunnels is under Letty's house. They don't know that yet, but we know that. The tunnels also relate to Titus' travels. So Letty and Montrose figure it out with an apprehensive Tick following behind them, which is another moment where Montrose shows how smart he really is. He and Letty have read about Titus' travels and were able to figure out which tunnel to go down based off of that. Like, so smart. Everybody's so smart. And Tick is constantly underestimating them. Just like they underestimate Letty just because she's a woman. So they find a plank, y'all. They go through the tunnel and end up at a plank that is over a never-ending void. I was just kind of like, oh God, I don't know if I would have made it, y'all. Tick sends Letty out first with a rope tied around her waist. She falters at first, but she catches her footing. Eventually, Tick has to follow behind her, and she finds that there's a pendulum swinging back and forth. Okay, so she has to hurry up and jump before the pendulum comes back, swings, and knocks her ass off the plank to fall down into, the neverdom that is beneath them. And then Montrose notices that one end of the plank is starting to disappear. So Tick has to go back to catch him as he jumps on the plank. He's like, you better catch me, boy. It's just like, you need to focus on your footing, okay? So he has to jump on the disappearing plank. They run to Letty. Then they have to get through the pendulum. Okay, mind you, they're on a plank this size, okay? They get to the other end of the plank, and then there's a fucking puzzle to figure out, a code to press before they can get off of the plank that is disappearing, okay? And guess who figures it out? Montrose, because Montrose read from that book from the sons of Adam, part of their bylaws or some shit. What did it say? Adam named, Eve fucked, and then God smites Eve or something like that. And because that was a part of the bylaws, that was the code to get off of this disappearing plank. So they end up in another tunnel that's filling with water, okay? And the tide comes in on this end, so they only have a certain amount of time before they drown. Tick wants to know how he knew. He says that George gave him the Sons of Adam book of bylaws. He read it and then he burnt it, okay? Letty doesn't have time for this shit, okay? So while Tick and Montrose argue about this, she continues on through the waist deep water, and then she notices some bodies floating. Those bodies are the bodies of some of her neighbors that disappeared. Tick finds an elevator, which leads them to believe that Hiram was trying to find the pages as well, because I believe it's the same type of elevator that he has inside of his house, the Winthrop house. Tick wants them to just go up to safety, Montrose and Letty. And this is when Letty goes off on his ass because she's tired of him with this bullshit. We've almost died several times, Tick. We're on this shit together. So they keep on going, and eventually they get to the vault, which has dead bodies all over it, like people sitting at tables and shit, okay? Kind of like Thanksgiving vibe. And they find one of the dead bodies leaned over a table holding the pages. So when they reach for the pages, the skeleton starts coming back to life. When she completely reanimates, we see that she has both parts, breast and, man nether regions. Child, I couldn't really tell you, but she is both male and female, okay? Two-spirited, all right? And whatever language she's speaking, Tick is the only one that understands it. She explains that she is a native named Yahima Merakoti. She is the one that deciphered the pages for Titus. So Titus and them was on some, we're in a whole new world type shit, right? And so they dock on the land that she lived on, the land of many waters. That's what she called it. And she was able to decipher those pages because she had seen that lettering in the caves from her land. So she understood it. As soon as she realized the type of man that Titus was, she said that she would no longer read and translate those pages for him, okay? She was like, I never seen men like that, always hungry, always wanting. And I was just like, always trying to take over something else, okay? So he agreed that he would reunite her with her family if she had done everything he asked her to do. So when she said she wasn't going to do it anymore, he imprisoned her and then killed all of her family and put them down in his vault together. Yeah. She doesn't know Tick. She doesn't know his motives, so she won't help him decipher the pages. When Montrose goes to grab the paper so that they can get the hell out of there, the windows break and all of this water starts rushing in and they have to swim to the elevator. But then the pages get free and Letty has to go to retrieve the pages. Child, my nerves were so bad. They finally get into the elevator and the elevator starts to go up, which frees them from all of the water. Tick kisses Letty and Yakima Merakoti starts to scream like a siren. So apparently a spell was put on her so that if she ever broke free from Titus's vault, she wouldn't be able to actually speak. So that means that even if she did want to decipher the pages, she wouldn't know how to communicate that to Tick without writing. So Tick has to knock her ass out in order to stop the noise because it was killing everybody in the elevator. So Hippolyta and Dee are traveling home in the car upset. Apparently, Tick and them had called her and said that they went home without them. So she's all upset. And Dee is looking at Uncle George's atlas that had Devon County circled on it. She said, you know what? I've had it up to here. So she turns around. She's going to go get some damn answers. Tick and Montrose talk about Yahima and how Titus put a spell on her so that if she escaped, she couldn't speak. But Tick believes he can figure it out on his own. And I was just like, really, son? You feel like you're going to be able to decipher the book of names all on your own? I appreciate that. I really do. I think he can do it as well. But just the fact that, none of them, when it comes to intellectual shit, ever feel like it's something that they can't do. Everybody's just like, we'll figure it out. And they always do. So smart. Montrose tells Tick, you did good today, boy. Okay, you're a good man, despite me. All right, your mama will be proud of you. Tick gets all emotional. Montrose gets a little emotional as well. He meant that shit. And Tick is always looking for his father's approval at the end of the day. But Tick leaves and goes up to his room. Montrose goes into Yahima's room, whispers in her ear, I'm sorry, and then slits her neck. I didn't understand why, but I do remember listening on the podcast and they said that Montrose is undercover. We all know that by now, right? Montrose is undercover. He's gay. And he is already other. They are already black. He cannot have another other tied to his son, to his family. because he feels like it puts them in more danger for someone to point out what's going on with Montrose. You know what I'm saying? If anybody finds out about Yahima and her nether regions, what they may think and focus on about Montrose and the rest of the family. So I believe he felt he was protecting them, but we were all very upset with Montrose for killing Yahima. Okay, she didn't deserve that. Already been through so much. But honestly, that was probably the only way she was going to rejoin her family. They didn't reanimate. So something tells me that they were really gone. And that was just their skeletons that were still there. So y'all, Christina is being followed by some more cops. So the cops are sitting outside her house when she goes into the gates. But William, okay, that white guy, the last time we saw him was at the house when the house burned down. We thought he died too. But he comes walking out. He goes up to the police car, beats the shit out of the police officers, and tells them to tell Lancaster that Miss Christina Braithwaite don't like people following her and that he has a date to go on. His date was with Ruby. Ruby was singing at a club, okay, just letting all her blues fall out onto the floor and depress everybody. So the crowd wasn't, very enthusiastic, okay? She was like, well, fuck you too. She goes to the bar, okay? She already been drinking all night. And, it's the white boy, William. He's been buying her drinks the whole night. So he comes and sits next to her and she's like, if you think that you buying me a few drinks mean that I'm about to take you home and, complete your black lady fantasy, get the hell up out of my face with this. But honestly, William is nice looking and they start talking. And, she's talking about, if I just had your skin, I wouldn't even have to run this race. Basically it was a long conversation, but it all sums up to white people have no idea how easy they have it just because they don't have dark skin. Off rip. Okay. And how hard it is being a black woman. And she's still upset about finding out that lady is working at Marshall Fields when she had been so, worried about it that entire time. Right. She said she wasn't going to fuck him. But she went home and fucked him on some stairs, no less. And I was just like, ooh. Y'all, Ruby is something to look at. Like her skin tone, her stature, her body proportions. I mean, she's beautiful. Just, I love looking at her. Even when it comes to the costumage on the show, the colors that always complement her skin tone, which is hard to have a color that doesn't complement her skin tone. It's so smooth and buttery. You know what I'm saying? I love it. But anyway, that was Lovecraft Country episodes 3 and 4. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm definitely going to finish out and I'm going to keep going 2 by 2. If this is long, I'm sorry, but I had to talk about it and it had to be done in this way. So I hope you guys enjoy the content. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you have not already. And I will see y'all in the next one.